Animal sacrifice has always been something that gave me a little bit of an issue when it came to studying scripture. It might be the same for you. You might have had an issue with the idea of needing to spill the blood of an animal to atone for the sins of people. That's what we're going to be covering today. The book of Leviticus is the third book in the Bible, and it takes place during the wilderness years after the escape from slavery in Egypt. Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any future content. Now, the book of Leviticus is super fun to read. It's full of some very particular instructions on how priests should relate to God in the tabernacle, how animal sacrifice should be done, and how the people in the society at the time should be relating to each other. Okay, so as far as entertainment value goes, Leviticus is probably not everyone's first choice. But there's an interesting section in there where it starts talking about God's appointed feasts, which were holidays that the Jewish people, the Israelites, would celebrate each year in time. And one of these is called the Day of Atonement. Now, you've heard of this feast because it's still celebrated every year. It's called 𝗄𝗄, and as of the time of the filming of this video, it's about a month away in September. Now, on this day every year, it was the high priest's job to make atonement for the sins of the people for all year long. It's covered in Leviticus chapter 16. Now, there's a lot in here, but there's one particular topic I want to cover, and that's what's called the scapegoat. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the first time that you've probably heard the term scapegoat was in the history books, learning about the European precursors to the Holocaust and World War II, where the Jews were named as the scapegoats for everything wrong economically and culturally with the society. By modern definition, that was technically true. The Jews were blamed for what was going on in the society as a way to bolster the Third Reich's rise to power. But the term scapegoat actually comes from this passage with this example, where the meaning goes a little bit deeper beyond blame into the realm of atonement, or making reparations for something that we have done wrong. And it's with the scapegoat that we see the whole point of the sacrificial system. It's not that the Israelites were blaming these animals for what was wrong with the society. The animals were taking the penalty for what was wrong with the people. In Leviticus chapter 16, starting in verse 6, we see that after the high priest would make atonement for himself with a bull, they would take 2 goats, set them before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting, or the tabernacle. And then the high priest would cast lots over the 2 goats to pick which one would be sacrificed there for the sins of the people, and which one would take the sins of the people away out into the wilderness, or here it says AZAZEL, which means out into the wilderness. Whichever goat was selected to take away the sins of the people, the high priest, Aaron, or Aaron as we would call it today, "You done messed up, Aaron!" would lay his hands on the goat's head and confess all the sins of the people onto the goat's head, symbolically placing the sins of the people on its head. And then it would be led out into the wilderness and released there, symbolically taking away the sins of the people. But we have a huge problem. The book of Hebrews in the New Testament was written to Jewish converts into the Christian faith. And in chapter 10 it says, "For it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. Consequently, when Christ came into the world, he said, 'Sacrifices and offerings you have not desired, but a body you have prepared for me. In burnt offerings and sin offerings you have taken no pleasure.' Then I said, 'Behold, I have come to do your will, O God, as it is written in the scroll of the book,'" or the Old Testament. Now the author says, "When he said above, 'You have neither desired nor taken pleasure in sacrifices and offerings and burnt offerings and sin offerings. These are offered according to the law.' Then he added, 'Behold, I have come to do your will.' He does away with the first in order to establish the second. And by that we have all been sanctified, or made right with God, through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once and for all." Now, I want to be sensitive to the fact that not all of you who are watching right now might subscribe to the fact that the New Testament is a valid continuation of the Old Testament books. But consider that this is actually a quote from Psalm 40, verses 6 and 7. King David said that. Now, God called King David a man after his own heart, and he knew all the way back, way before Jesus even came, that salvation did not come through the sacrifice of animals, but it came through faith in God, which is why God called him a man after my own heart. David was ahead of his time. We see another example of this in Isaiah 58. God does not desire sacrifice or religion or tradition. He desires self-sacrifice, and it couldn't be more clear in the Old Testament as well as the New. Self-sacrifice. See, the scapegoat and every other animal sacrifice for that matter were never meant to take away sin, but they were a rehearsal for the real thing. Only a perfect man could atone for the sins of men, which is why God stepped off of his throne into the person of Jesus Christ to sacrifice himself, the only sufficient sacrifice that could have been made to save you.